I'll start. We got a little bit of a timid group here, right? I don't know why we're in a sales class. Talk to us a little bit about your background and where you're at right now, what you're doing, and why do you love sales?
Oh, man. So my name is Jeremy Funk. A little bit of background on me. I grew up in Plymouth, New Hampshire, just a little bit north of you guys. Actually went to college just down the road over at Brandeis University. Graduated in 2002. Didn't really have a lot of experience or knowledge around sales before I got into it, but decided to kind of give it a go in 2003 when I moved cross country to Boulder, Colorado, and saw that the technology sales world was really starting to take off. It was a much different universe back then than it is now. My first sales job, I actually sold data storage out of a big box where it was $20,000 for 1 terabyte of data. You guys think about what 1 terabyte of cloud data costs on your iPhone today? It's about $3. So things have changed significantly, and they'll continue to change and evolve from a technology standpoint. I was really lucky. The big break that I got in my career was in 2007. I was recruited into selling accounting software to oil and gas companies. And that led to a variety of different opportunities in the energy technology space that I've been involved in for the last 16 years. Sales for me has been everything. I've really kind of carved out a niche as the technology sales expert within the oil and gas universe. And it takes me all over the world, including places today like Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I sit down with C-level executives at publicly traded oil and gas companies, talk with them about some of their solutions, some of their needs, and help them frame their budgets to be able to most effectively take advantage of some of the amazing technologies that exist today. I'm married. I have 3 kids. I live just outside of Boulder and Denver, Colorado. Boulder, go Coach Prime, go Buffs. Playing great ball right now. Having a blast. I've always had a blast in sales. I'd say what I like about it the most, truly, is the relationships that I've been able to build. For example, Professor Young, Zev and I went to summer camp, like 30 years ago together, and sales is what reconnected us. A lot of my closest contacts and really some of my closest friends are people that I've done sales alongside, that have been my sales engineers, and people that I've actually done business with that trust me implicitly with the solutions that I bring to them, and they know that I'll always look out for their best interests in a business transaction. Sales to me has transcended business and professional life. It's become very personal to me, and it bleeds into every aspect of your life. So I have a great amount of appreciation for the craft. I read books on it. I watch podcasts. I always try to get better. And for me, sales has been probably the most impactful thing in my life, with the exception of relationships with my family. So that's a little bit about me. I'm Jeremy Funk, and I'd love to answer any questions you guys have for me. I apologize about the lighting.
We can't even notice
it. Nice.
Yeah.
How you doing, Jeremy? Can you see me?
I can see you well, yeah.
How you doing? My name is Matt Stephanus. I'm a senior at Bentley, currently studying marketing, getting a minor in management. I'm hoping to break into pharma sales out of school. Similar to you, your first job out of school was sales. I guess my question for you, I know different industry, but what was kind of the biggest challenge you faced in that first sales job that you had?
I would say that at the biggest challenge that I had in my first sales job was that I was a hammer, and when you're a hammer, everything tends to look like a nail. When you're in sales, you need a lot of different tools in your bag. Sometimes you need a screwdriver, sometimes you need a drill, sometimes you need a rubber mallet, right? So my biggest challenge was I was eager, man. I was young, I was fit, I was really ready to go. I wanted to crush it. And I went a little bit too fast. And I think if I could have given myself some advice, and I love this question, I have a podcast, I always ask my guests, what advice would you have for your younger self? It honestly would have been to slow down, to value each and every interaction and conversation a little bit more than just hammering through and hitting all of the numbers that you possibly could, in making calls. I think that there's a reason why the best salespeople are consistently at the top. And it's because they place a real emphasis and value on the research that they do before every single conversation. 20 years ago, there wasn't LinkedIn, okay? 20 years ago, there was not Zoom info. There were not tools that existed to find out information about people. You have so much of that at your fingertips today. You have no reason in your first sales job to not do your research and find out information on the person that you're going to speak with and be prepared to create some level of human connection with them. So I would advise all of you, slow down, have that will, have that fire in your belly, have that desire to succeed, which I still have today. But make sure that you're doing your homework on each and every single person that you're talking to, and you're prepared for each conversation with a little bit more knowledge of that person than your competitor has. That would be my best piece of information. And in the pharma sales world, for example, it's very competitive, right? You're going to be going up against people that want it the same way that you do. You know, I don't know, there's probably some Patriots fans in there. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, back when they were a dynasty, right, back in the good old days, I remember hearing some former Pittsburgh Steelers players saying this. Mike Tomlin, their coach, would say this to their players, like, so you know how we feel, us as the Steelers, that we would, if we were to get into a street fight with anybody, we'd win, right? Well, the Patriots feel that way too. But the difference between us and them, and the reason that the Patriots always beat us, is because they're smarter than us. They work harder than us. And in that situation, I would advise, you know that you can go head to head with anybody in a street fight, but that's how your competition feels about you. How are you going to get ahead? How are you going to beat them? You have to be smarter. You have to outwork them, period.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
How you doing? My name is Lucas Ritchie. I'm a senior marketing major. I just want to know, does like the rapid evolution of technology make your job harder with like AI and all that kind of stuff? And how do you help kind of guide like a client or a customer who may not have a full understanding of modern technology?
Great questions. Does it make my life harder? No, if anything, it makes my life easier. And being adaptable toward new trends and technologies is very important. A quick example, I'll get to your second part of the question shortly. So my company, Funk Futures, we do contract sales, marketing, and recruiting for emerging oil and gas technology companies. And one of the things that I've always done is I've typed out, handwritten, all of my press releases. Well, guess what? There's a tool called ChatGPT that writes press releases in 30 seconds better than I do. So is my time better spent spending 3 hours typing out a press release myself? Or is it better to put in, ask ChatGPT to write it for me? And then I can make some quick edits. It's using ChatGPT. A lot of the people in my industry as a whole, to answer the second part of your question, are older. A lot of gray-haired, kind of wealthy older people that haven't had the shift. And now they have younger employees coming to the organization saying, hey, we could automate this. We could use AI. We could use optical scanning. Are these solutions that we should look into? And those people come to me, right? Those people ask me, what do you suggest in this space? So I need to have the knowledge to be able to answer those questions and ensure that they are knowledgeable. And I'll tell you, I don't always have the answer. So when I don't have the answer, I bring in somebody that's more technical than me, somebody that's smarter than me, because I know what I don't know. I think holistically, the best salespeople, like Professor Young, like myself, like the other gentlemen and ladies that will come in and speak to your class, the best salespeople are like eagles. What do eagles do? They stay perched up from above and they look out and they see everything. What we can do that eagles can't do is we can rely on other people and we can direct them. And we can say, this is where I need you to go because I can't go get that fish right there. I need a kingfisher to go do that, right? So what is your best play as the eagle? Because you are the eagle in this particular situation. You see everything, right? Leveraging your assets and resources and understanding who has the strengths that can complement your ability to see everything is a hugely important value add, both to yourself and of course for your customers. When I was younger, one of the big mistakes that I would make consistently is I would BS answers. Never should have done that. I should have just known when to say, nope, I don't know. I don't know the answer, but you know what? I know who does, and I'll get an answer for you from this person. Don't be that sales guy that thinks that he has all the answers when you don't. Somebody's always going to have a more technical, detailed response because that's their job. You guys have friends who are engineering majors. You're a marketing major. You're a sales, program minor. There are people that will have answers that you don't have, and they should. It's not a weakness to not know the answer. It's a strength to bring in a resource that can complement you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good questions.
Hello, I'm Haider.
Hello.
I'm majoring in management, and I wanted to ask you, in your career, how has sales evolved in your career, and if it has, what has happened, and also what's the biggest challenge that you face in sales in today's world?
How has sales evolved? In a lot of ways, it's still the same, frankly, that it was when I started. Relationships still come first. Being authentic and genuine in all of your dealings in business is still paramount and still very important. How has it shifted, and what have I seen as some challenges in sales? Well, I would say, and I answered this a little bit earlier before, access to information now is more readily available than it's ever been before. You simply don't have time to rely on you being the only one that goes in and does this certain type of information. You need to be creative. You need to find ways that tools can help you. There's a lot more tools available to you today than there were when I was younger. You're going to go out in the world and you're going to be in a sales situation where you feel like you should have access to certain information. And the truth is, with just a little bit of digging on the internet, you'll probably be able to find that answer. There's less excuses now, okay? You have to be better. You have to be more methodical in your approach. And you also have to have a sales methodology. I think that's one thing that you're going to learn as you get deeper into this class, is that there are various different sales methodologies. And you need to understand who you are and how you fit into those sales situations and how you approach sales. And I think it's going to be very important for everybody to really kind of find themselves in this journey as a salesperson. For me, one of the things that took me a little bit of time to realize was I'm a relationship-centric person, and to me, relationships is what has created a great deal of success for me over time. Some other people are less so based on relationships and more so based on having a methodical sales process, and that works for them too. There's a number of different ways to skin the cat, and I think for you, the challenges that you get in the world are, how do I find myself as a salesperson to be the most genuine and authentic person that I can be? And maybe that means that you are that you are a hunter, and that you like to be at the tip of the spear getting leads. Maybe you like to be more on the customer success side of things and retain accounts once they've already been sold, and sell them and upsell them on new items. None of these are a weakness. These are all strengths, but it's very important for you to sort of realize where you fit in the whole ecosystem of sales, because it continues to grow and evolve. Customer success was nothing when I was younger. It didn't really exist. Subscriptions. We all have a subscription to everything right now. Those did not exist when I was younger. You used to buy something once and you owned it, right? So the idea of retention, the idea of customer success, the idea of being able to manage an account is more paramount than it's ever been. So there are more disciplines that you can go into now, having a sales career, than there were when I was younger. Before, it was really just lead gen, closer, account manager, right? Now there are lots of different ways that you could take this. So find yourself, be authentic to it, and truly find your voice as a sales resource.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kylie McCumber. I'm a senior here at Bentley. I study marketing and I have a minor in Spanish. As someone who's planning to go more a marketing route and be more of kind of a support for the sales team, what were some things throughout your career where you really saw the two teams really work well together and not step on each other's toes, but be able to, reach the company goals at the end of the day?
That is an awesome question. And part of my business in Funk Futures is actually doing marketing, primarily content marketing, on behalf of my customers. I would say the best advice that I could give you as someone who's going into the world of marketing is really twofold. One, become an absolute expert on whatever product it is that you're selling, that your team is selling, so that you have a lot of the knowledge that the engineers have, and you can be dangerous and a valuable resource to the sales team from a technical perspective. That's one. from a secondary standpoint too, you have to be able to really understand, sit in some sales calls with your team, hear how they pitch the product, right? Start to really digest how the sales team feels about the product. Because guess what? The way that the engineers view the product and the way that the sales team views the product, that's why marketing exists, because there's a huge disconnect there, right? There's like a cartoon that you'll see, like what the sales guy thinks the product is, what the CEO thinks the product is, what the product actually is. It's your job as a marketer to truly understand what does the product do technically, and then what is the value that it drives? Because the salesperson needs to find out the value so that they can sell the return on the investment for the customer. The engineering team needs to have their hard work validated by people appreciating the fact that they built a robust and complex solution. So for you as a marketer, it's A, figuring out exactly what the product does and get to the point where you can demonstrate that solution and speak to all of the benefits of that solution, and then support the sales team from the perspective of this is what the engineers feel like it can do, and this is what a salesperson should be able to explain what it can do. I would also recommend learning a lot of different tools. There are so many amazing marketing tools that exist today, whether it be Figma. Like a marketer traditionally in the past had not been someone who could develop product, like you can now. Like you can create the most beautiful slides. You can basically create a software product from scratch, leveraging some of the tools that exist today, including some AI. So I would say become a versatile marketing resource, understand what the corporate goals are from a technology standpoint, and truly listen to the sales team and support the sales team. The marketing resources that I've had the most success with are those who take a creative approach in articulating the value of the product and then creating content that I can use as a salesperson. The marketing resources that I've struggled with the most in my career are the ones that just tell me what to do, right? So it's very important for you to be an ally, to listen, right? 2 ears, 1 mouth, and always be a resource to the engineering side of the house and the sales side of the house, and you'll be a beloved resource. So good luck in your marketing career.
Thank you very much.
Great question, man.
How are you, Jeremy? My
Good,
name
how you
is,
doing?
I'm good. My name is James Modica. I am a finance major with a minor in entrepreneurial studies. I actually have a quick question. What do you think that the biggest asset that a salesperson can bring to a company besides like the obvious of just bringing in revenue?
Feedback. You really have to understand product market fit, because whoever started the company, whoever built that company, believes that their product fits in the market in a certain way. And how do they get that information? It has to come from the salesperson. It's not enough to just win a deal or lose a deal. You have to tell them why, that it doesn't happen again, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's what poor salespeople do. That's what salespeople do who end up in a different job every single January hoping for a miracle. The best and most important thing that a salesperson can do is truly understand why they won, understand why they lost, and be able to easily articulate that information in a confident way back to the technical side of the house as well as the executives of the company. If you can do that, you'll become completely indispensable for your organization, because they know, you know what, you lost a deal, but you know exactly why, and you're not going to repeat that next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I guess I would add on to that the second piece, right? So like during COVID, when I spoke to actually this class about 3 years ago, I struggled. I had a really bad year in 2020. We all did for different reasons, but I struggled to sell the accounting ERP solution that I was setting out to sell. So I said, you know what, because I'm struggling to actually do this, I need to be a content creator and be a brand creator and bring exposure to my company that they might not have gotten previously. And I started a podcast, started posting on LinkedIn more, getting lots of views, getting lots of eyes for the company, and effectively turned myself into a marketing machine and resource for the company because I wasn't able to successfully sell at that point. And that's something I would also urge each of you to do, is build your own brand, create your own value outside of your company, and your company will return that value in spades.
Hi, Jeremy. Nice to meet you.
Cool.
I'm Elias. I'm a senior in majoring in marketing right now. I'm aware you're the founder of Funk Futures right now and CEO.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, I know you guys specialize mostly on energy technology. I wanted to know why energy technology specifically. And also, I'm curious to know what's the beginning to end process of you acquiring one of your clients you have right now.
Oh, I love that question. Thank you. Why energy technology? I mean, to me, it's just intense focus. I've been in the energy technology world for the last 16 years. That's where my contacts exist. That's where my own personal subject matter expertise exists. So why not lean into the space that I know best, where I can add the most value the quickest? That's really what it is to me, and probably the same reason that Professor Young has stayed in the pharma medical side of things, because that's an area that he has immense amount of subject matter expertise in and can do more than just a traditional seller can do. He's now an expert, just like I'm an expert in the energy tech space. What is the process of me getting a client end to end? Great question, because this actually just happened a couple weeks ago. So, man, I look to scavenge for data and information. So I keep close tabs on the companies that I see as emerging technology leaders, and I want to get on with them. So I make sure that I'm ready to pitch the right kinds of companies that I deem are the companies that I want to get involved with. That might mean following their posts on LinkedIn. It could mean following them on Twitter. It could be reading about them on Crunchbase, seeing where they raise money, asking questions. I have a lot of venture capital and finance leader friends who I lean on for due diligence and information on what types of companies, what companies specifically I should work with, and what leaders they are. But generally speaking, it'll happen one of two ways. I will either go and find the company myself, or a company will come to me. They'll come in via my website. They'll be referred to me from another client, or somebody will say, hey, you should go talk to these guys in a warm reference. But the process is generally the same, right? It's not about me selling my solution. That's not how I do it. It's about me asking them questions and gaining a laser-focused, deep dive understanding of what their business does. And first and foremost, understand if it's actually a fit for my business to represent their brand. So in the same way that they're trying to qualify me as someone who should work with them, I'm trying to qualify them or potentially disqualify them so that nobody wastes their time in this process. So I typically like to set up a 30 to 60-minute call, usually with the CEO of the company that I may do business with, and really understand what their product does, why people buy it, who within the company, the persona that buys their product, how they go about and get their business deals, what some of their challenges are, right? And get them talking. Get them to see that I actually care about their business and that I want to ensure that this is a fit for our teams. After we have a successful 30 to 60-minute call, I'll ask to speak with somebody else on their team, possibly their head of sales, possibly their co-founder, maybe one of their technical leaders, and get their perspective as well. Understand where they think the shortcomings are, because if everything was perfect, they wouldn't be talking to me, right? I want to understand how we can help. And after I've had at least 2 or 3 of these conversations, I'm at the point then where I believe I can send a proposal for certain services. Every single proposal I send will be different. It will never be exactly the same, because I'm a professional services firm and I want to create value in each and every engagement that I'm in. So for me, it's qualifying, asking questions, understanding if it's a fit, and then creating and proposing my best solution. And then from there, there'll be some high level of negotiation. We'll establish the length of the agreement, the appropriate amount of money that should be exchanged, the relative upside and commission, and then we'll go and we'll kick some butt together.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Jeremy. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Ashley. I'm a marketing major. I just had one question for you. So at the beginning of your career, I feel like it can be very nerve-wracking going and like meeting with a client for the first time or just meeting anyone new in general. Is there anything that you have done to help calm those nerves, or maybe still do today, that could be helpful for us? Because I feel like it can be a little scary. So just like anything to just help us like calm down and relax before meeting someone.
Yeah, I love this question, and thank you for being vulnerable and candid in asking the question. I still get butterflies sometimes when I go into a room, despite having spent tens of thousands of hours going into boardrooms and making presentations. That's human nature, and it also shows that you have a pulse. I would recommend a few different things. One, take deep breaths, right? Deep breaths always help. But two, more important than anything, the meetings that I'm most nervous about going into are those where I don't feel like I have the answers. So a methodical and important level of preparation as you get into each and every meeting is incredibly important, right? Truly understanding what could they potentially ask me. Do a dry run, right, of what questions they might ask you. Think of every possible scenario and be prepared for that meeting. And I guarantee you, your level of angst and anxiety going into that meeting will be lessened significantly because you're now anticipating what they're going to do. And with that being part of your process before you go into any meeting, I promise you, you'll be able to take deeper breaths. You'll be able to go in and focus and execute most importantly. And also remember, it's never a weakness to ask questions. If somebody says something and you don't understand why they asked it, you can just ask for more information. That's okay, right? Sometimes people will try to throw you off with an ambiguous question anyway, especially when you're earlier in your career, because it's fun to do that to early career professionals. But truly, the level of preparedness that you have in going to a meeting will reduce the amount of stress that you have 100% of the time. So prepare yourself, do all your research, be diligent about it, and you'll go in and you'll crush every meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you doing, Jeremy? I'm Aryan. I'm a senior in Bentley, majoring in professional sales. I know you've spoken about the importance of creating relationships, and we've actually been kind of studying about approaching customers and kind of what's the best way to make a first impression. My question to you is, through your experiences, do you believe there's kind of a set way of approaching a customer, or if there's any practices that differentiate you from competitors during the first initial meeting?
Love the question. As far as differentiating myself from competition and how I make a first impression, I make it very clear that our business relationship is about how I can create value for them. And in the process, about how, if I'm going to invest my time in this relationship, this business relationship, that it also has to make sense for me. And I established that from the start, and I think people really value that. I also, and I've hammered this message home a little bit in this discussion, I'll always have a decent level of information on the key decision maker in the room. So an example, someone who's become a very close friend of mine, who's a C-level at one of the largest oil and gas companies in the world. Before the first time that we met, I did a little bit of information on him. He lived in Oklahoma City, but I saw that at one point in his career, via his LinkedIn, he lived in Denver. And I was prepared to talk to him about where he lived in Denver. Why did he live in Denver? What brought him there? Why did he then move back to Oklahoma City? We quickly realized that he lived about a block away from where my best friend lived in Denver. And then we started talking about our favorite sushi restaurant in that area, Sushi Den. If anybody's ever in Denver, it's amazing. We started talking about our favorite sports teams, so you're a Broncos fan, right? And very quickly, it wasn't about a business conversation, right? It was about us establishing that there's a level of trust and a level of humanity. Because at the end of the day, people do business with people. They do business with people that they like and that they trust. And solutions oftentimes can come second. So that person that I've mentioned to you has created tens of millions of dollars worth of sales for me. There's still somebody that will always take my meeting because it's me. And I will still lead those meetings and I'll ask about how his daughter's doing, right? How he's done post his divorce, right? We've gotten personal, we've gotten deep, and that's because there were times when he didn't want to talk business, he wanted to talk personal, and that's okay too. You don't need to sell something in every single interaction with a person. You need to continue to develop trust with them. But I think of sales like a bank a little bit, right? If you go to a bank and you're constantly asking for a withdrawal, the bank will eventually tell you, you don't have anything to withdraw, man. You need to make deposits. And making a deposit in the bank is something like bringing a piece of valuable information to a person, asking them a question about themselves and their life, right? Bringing something to them that they may not have seen before. In my case, inviting them onto my podcast, creating a different level of human connection with that person. And I always try to keep tabs on how my bank is flowing with every one of my valued clients. Am I withdrawing more than I'm depositing? If so, I need to fix that skill.
Thank you.
You.
Jeremy, could you just touch on your relationship with Clayton Shepherdson before we get out of here and before we turn you loose to the airline? How did that come about? And just tell the class a little bit about him.
Clayton's a dog. So 3 years ago, it was during COVID, Professor Young asked me to come in and speak to this class. And I did. And I'll say the same thing to you guys that I said to that class, which is I'm on LinkedIn. Like, it's not hard to find me. I would encourage each of you to connect with me, send me a message. I will carve out time despite the fact that I have a very busy schedule, both personally and professionally. I will do what it takes to listen to you. I will try to bring value to your life. And most importantly, I will connect with you. Go find me on LinkedIn. Clayton Shepherdson was one of the few people, there were probably 35, maybe 40 students in that class, and maybe 4 or 5 actually added me on LinkedIn. Clayton Shepherdson reached out and said, hey, I have a question for you. You're in energy, and I have an energy project that I'm a part of right now. Can I kind of run you through this presentation? And I said, sure. And we met, then we met again. And then eventually he said, hey, I'm looking for a little bit of work that I could do. And I said, you know what? You seem like a hustler. You can do some work for me. So he picked up a paid internship for me. And then recently he moved to Boulder, Colorado to get a job where I actually helped refer him into that job. And he comes over and he watches the Pats play with me every single Sunday. So I'm open to building relationships, and I'm open to rewarding the people that are looking to create those valuable sales connections. And that's one of the things that Clayton did. And now he and I are good friends. He knows I'd do anything to him, and I bring products to him, and he comes to networking events that I throw. And frankly, it's all because he had the right mindset and sales acumen for a senior at Bentley that's now built a very lucrative career for himself. So I'm not hard to find. Feel free to reach out to me. I can't say that each one of you will move to Boulder and you'll be watching Pats games at my house every Sunday, but I'm here for you. And treat people like me, treat people like Mr. Young as an ally, as a resource, as somebody that I didn't have in the early stages of my career. And I will be there for you and try to help you not have some of the pitfalls that I had in my early career stages, and I'll support you.